Hello and welcome to the Limbury Theatre. I'm Flora Wilson and I'm delighted to be welcoming you here today to a Royal Opera House Insights supported by Rolex. Today we're taking you behind the scenes into the rehearsal process as we see Hannah Kendall's intensely dramatic The Knife of Dawn being prepared ahead of its main stage debut here at the Royal Opera House on the 24th of October. The chamber opera is based on the story of a Guyanese political activist and poet, Martin Carter. It's set in his prison cell during a hunger strike that he went on in 1953. He'd been arrested without charge. Carter had been fighting for Guyanese independence. As he put it, he was wholly dedicated to the winning of liberation from a foreign country. That country was Great Britain. To tell us more then, please welcome Ola Ince, the director, and Hannah Kendall, the composer of this opera. Thank you so much for welcoming us into this rehearsal space. It's great to be here. Amazing to be in a rehearsal theatre. So first up then, Ola, could you tell us who else is in this space with us? I'm aware there's a man on a bed behind me for a start.
So this is Peter, the fabulous Peter Brathwaite, who's playing Martin Carter. You'll see a bit more of him later. This is Ellen over here, part of stage management that makes things slide at us and things happen in the room, along with Jess, who's also part of our stage management team. They work together to help us out. This is TD, one of our amazing assistant directors. Izzy, one of our amazing assistant directors. Jonathan, our conductor. And Jen, our pianist, who helps. I'm not getting your title right, am I, Jen? What's your official title? Assistant chorus master. So this is our room, and we all work together to make Hannah's opera come to life.
That is fantastic. Thanks, Ola. And we should probably say that Genevieve is actually not just a pianist. She's also being three singers, isn't she, Hannah? I believe there's going to be some singing coming from the piano.
Yes, that's right. So as well as Peter, who's the main character on stage, there are also three voices, part of the instrumentation in the pit. So thank you so much, Jen, for filling in today, but eventually we'll have more voices in the room. Amazing.
We salute you in the meantime. Thank you. So, Hannah, what actually led you to The Knife of Dawn in the first place? How did this opera come about?
I was working for a charity at the time that was actively trying to diversify classical music, and so we were thinking a lot about how we can do that as part of the industry, but I wanted to extend that further and think about how I could do something more proactively as an artist. And so it was that combined with wanting to touch more on my own heritage. So my family's from Guyana, and I've grown up knowing about Martin Carter and his work and his poetry. And as I got older, I was just reading more and finding more relevancy between his work and my own life. And I just thought, not only because of the power of his poetry, but the incredible things that he was fighting for would lend itself really well for a dramatic work. And so I wanted to combine all of those aspects together, and that's how The Knife of Dawn was born, really.
Okay, fascinating, thank you. Ola, what about you? What brought you to this?
I didn't know, sadly, anything about Martin Carter until I read the opera. Sorry, I didn't. And that was really sad that I didn't know about this part of our history, because it's both British history and Guyanese history. And so I was really moved by the libretto when I read it, but then I was really amazed at the nuance of it that's been built in and the history behind it. And just I learned more and more about Martin, and just knew that I was really grateful that I was able to work on it, because not only is it really beautiful and powerful, but it's also hugely educational, and really speaks to now. I think now people are starting to really question what it is we're taught at school and really what is British history. And so this is just perfect vehicle for that, is to go, come on everyone, there is so much more to learn, and there are so many powerful figures. And what's great about this that Peter does so well is we are really thinking about what it means to make change, especially as artists. And so, yeah, all of that combined was like, yeah, please, I'll do it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. We're going to talk to you a lot more later. We're going to hear more about all of those aspects. But for now, I don't want to hold you up a moment longer. So over to you, Ola. The rehearsal space is yours again. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Peter, when you're ready, and Jonathan, when you're ready, we're going to go from the top of 2A with the moment. And we'll stop and start, so don't think you're like, it's not a performance. Let's see what we remember. You ready?
At the seawall. Oh, a pepper pot. I close my eyes and bring these things like life into my brain, on my tongue. I see my mischievous boy crawling now, and the...
I think if we go back a bit further to end of 1, what I need to make clearer is how we've gone from annoyed, cast them aside, to hearing the street merchants and Christmas. And then also, I guess we need to find somewhere in the score to see Phyllis, like we do usually over here.
Yeah.
Like a ding again. Yeah. So let's just mark through it slowly. Where should we go from?
I think I will keep the hunger strike. And then do from there. Yeah.
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, so I will keep...
And that's after he's seen his daughter? Or before?
This is the end of 1C. When
Yeah.
he says, don't taunt me, and then I will keep the hunger strike. But what does a poet know about politics?
Yeah.
Can we go a tiny bit further forward?
Further forward?
Back.
Yeah. Yes, so we've got, you want from right where his daughter appears?
Maybe, yeah.
It's here, that's the beginning of 1C.
Oh, then no, we don't.
Probably a bit far back. We could try here, the shift before going to bed too.
Let's try.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's page 47. Yeah, and that's actually the shift that you weren't sure about, where you're looking at the floor and then you sink to your knees. For pressing on my land, there is an ocean's flood.
Right.
Okay. Figure 32.
Yeah.
Would that be better? Yeah.
Yeah. Then what happens after there's an ocean's flood?
Is
So
this...
then you say, if you must sing.
If
then
you must sing,
That's
then
perfect.
broadcast.
And then you
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see daughter, you stand up, and then she comes centre stage, and then you look out the window and you say, it's not light, there's no light.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then you can have a little bit of a sulk.
Okay.
And then we need to find in the score the change where actually it becomes beautiful and Christmas.
Right.
Yeah? Okay.
So shall I start on the floor, or...?
Yeah, this is probably about where you're sinking down.
Yeah.
3 bars before trusting. 32.
1. If you must sing, then broadcast a solidarity. Get the news out of a hunger strike. it is foul in here. My legs are paining. My eyes are getting dark. A poet must see. I don't know if I sleep or wake.
Thank you, that's great. So, we've gone floor moment, right?
Yeah.
And the lyrics are, if you must sing
you
about
must
the
sing.
strike,
Yep.
angry walk.
Yep.
I'm not allowed to get on your bed, but I would usually, you know. So, so on the bed, it's as if, for now, play with me.
Yep.
Go from that point, march to bed, and make it a bit of a teenage strop for me. March, go further forward, in front of the bed, and get under the sheets for me.
Okay.
Pull them over your head, a second. Okay, do that again. I won't do that for real, Jonathan. So floor, yeah. It's kind of like you want to, if I did it on the bed, it would be like, boom.
Right. So fall onto the bed, or?
Yeah, march, march, march. It's like you just want to get away from them.
Okay.
Again?
Get the news out of our hunger strike.
Bang! Then what's the next thing you sing?
Yes. Yeah, there's some voices. I reply with yes, it is foul in here. My legs are paining. My eyes are getting dark.
Uh-huh. So if you get onto the bed, get in, it can be this. Yeah, yes, keep on going.
Yes, it is foul in here.
Yeah.
My legs are paining.
Uh-huh.
My eyes are getting dark.
You could be lying down on that. Mind your head.
My eyes are getting dark.
You used to arch yourself so that you could look at Jonathan from the bed.
My eyes are getting dark. A poet must see. I don't know if I sleep or wake. It has been 4 weeks.
Here, right at my feet, my strangled city lies.
Don't talk to me. But who are you?
So, strangled city lies.
Yeah.
Sit up for who are you?
But who are you?
Yeah.
A poet must see, Daddy, starvation will be the best poem yet.
Don't taunt me.
Daddy,
Don't taunt me.
What's the next line?
I will keep the hunger strike.
Yeah, great.
And then, but what does a poet know about politics?
There we go. And crumble. And now lie on your back. And then we can get into another section where we'll get into the One more time. So let's go from ground.
Yep.
We'll mark it, then we'll do it with music. What's the lyrics, please, Izzy?
If you must sing.
pressing on my land, there is an ocean's flood, it is a muttering sea.
If you must sing, then broadcast our solidarity. Get the news out of our hunger strike.
Christoph, great.
With a garden thrusting barbed wire.
Yes, it is foul in here.
I'd love it if you were able to get under the sheets as soon as you've got away, as if you're protecting yourself. Or it's like a barrier you're making, barrier away from, yeah.
Yes, it is foul in here.
Yeah,
My legs are paining.
yeah,
My eyes are getting dark.
yeah.
A poet must see.
Be careful though. So legs are paining. Bam, under the covers. Legs are paining. Feel the legs.
Legs are paining.
But try and move onto your shoulders so that you can see Jonathan.
My legs are paining.
So basically you go from here,
Yeah.
march to bed, pull over, but you don't want to be on your back, you want to be on your side.
Right.
So legs are paining, eyes are getting dark, out that way.
Okay. Get the news out of a hunger strike.
In the tuck with the garden across the top.
Side, 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 yeah,
My legs are paining.
yeah,
My eyes are getting dark.
yeah, great,
A poet must see.
yeah,
I don't know if I sleep or wake.
yeah, you can, yeah.
It has been 4 weeks.
Here, right at my feet, my strangled city lies.
But who are you?
Up for that, yeah.
A poet must see, Daddy, starvation will be your best poem yet, Daddy.
Don't taunt me.
Daddy.
Don't taunt me. I will keep the hunger strike.
That's to Janet, right?
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah. So who is this? Sit up.
So, but who are you?
Yeah.
Daddy, starvation will be your best poem yet, Daddy.
Don't taunt me.
Daddy.
Don't taunt me. I will keep the hunger strike. But what does a poet know about politics?
Great. And relax onto your back. And then we'll just go play a little bit of it. The air, please. Does that feel okay, Peter?
Yeah, I think so. I think I hear family picnicking at the seawall. Oh, a pepper pot.
Great. We'll stop there. Thank you. So I think you've done all that awkward, what does a poet know about politics stuff. Lie on your back, hear the market. I think I hear, from the different versions you've done, you like to usually get up on I think I hear.
Yeah.
So sit up on that like, Christmas! Woo!
I think I hear family picnicking by the seawall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happens next?
Oh, a pepper pot. And then there's...
I think be careful, though, that you don't get too excited about pepper pot. No, you think you need to because you've got a big gap. Pepper
Yeah.
pot, yummy, yummy pause, thinking about it.
Yeah, I still got my daughter to come and...
It's to Phyllis, so I think for
Phyllis.
Phyllis, maybe. Let's go from
Okay. I think I hear family picnicking on the seawall. Oh, a pepper pot.
delicious.
I close my eyes and bring these things like life into my brain, on my tongue.
Bed sheet, yeah.
Feel it.
Great, can we stop there? That's great. So we have, can you play that bit again, Jen? There's like a little bridge to Phyllis, right? In terms of like, dring, and then dring. Sorry, put it over here. Ah. How do we make her appear? You've gone pepper pot, you've gone close your eyes and imagine.
Yeah.
You've got some
Feels
water
like-
on your shirt.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So your sheet's still on you. Maybe the sheet can help us. Can we just play that a little bit again, please, Jen and Jonathan? That's her.
Yeah, that's her sort of calling out, or her moving in this scene.
Yeah.
Like she suddenly comes into view, or I see
Does
her
she come
in the-
closer to you?
Yeah.
Let's try. Can we go again? I'll pretend to be her. Is it like, do you adjust more and more? Ooh!
Phyllis,
Yeah, does that help? Should we try?
I see.
Can we try one more time?
Yep.
Thank you.
Phyllis,
I think that might work.
I see my mischievous.
We'll keep 'em going.
On?
Keep on going, yeah.
So, sorry, which name? Phyllis, okay.
Yeah, back in bed.
Phyllis, I see my mischievous boy crawling now, and the curve of your pregnant belly. Daughter, my love, what will this country be when you are born? Will you win races? Will you fight for freedom? You could be a doctor. You could be anything. Yes. But our world is not free. Christmas is coming, and the streets of life are set about with knives. Invisible drums are beating at my head. The party is divided. I must not be divided. My love, this is the dark time. My love, all round the land, brown beetles crawl about. My love, the shining sun is hidden in the sky. Red flowers is the dark time, my love. It is the season of oppression. Dark metal and tears. It is the festival of guns, the carnival of misery. Everywhere the faces of men are strange and anxious. Who comes walking in the dark night time? Whose boots of steel tramp down the slender grass? It is the man of death, my love. The strange invader watching you sleep and aiming at your dream.
Drop to the ground. There's lots of letters dropping. It takes a while. You're not quite sure if you like it or not. Start to catch one if you want.
You are the voice of the people. Poetry is a path to freedom.
You moved on now? Yeah.
For my children's
Looking at the food.
freedom, I will not break.
Move.
Now they help me die. Oh. I was thinking if I could shape this passion. I was thinking if I could make myself nothing but fire. I was thinking if I could find myself in all that I could be. Pull off your shirt and throw away your hat. Kick off your shoe and stamp on the stop. Tear off your dress and open yourself and dance like you mad. Far, far. Oh, left foot, right foot, left arm, boy. Right foot, left foot, right arm, boy. Run down the road, run up the sky, but run like you mad. Far, far. Jump off the ground. Pull down a star. until you bleed. Far, far. If I agree to eat, they will give me a pen, paper, books. I can get the word out. They can't make a poet turn a beast. They kill him and they kill mankind. It's not the lack of food killing me now. No, it is a bigger hunger. How will I serve your dream? I serve no one if I die. It's nearly morning, but still there is no light.
Melt, melt, melt onto bed. Poor man. Way! Well done, Peter. Woo! Really good.
Thank you so much. Well, it's so moving seeing that, even in this in this environment where it's still in the midst of being put together. Hannah, could I welcome you as well to come and join Ola and Peter? We've got so much to talk about, having just seen that. It's amazing stuff. While Hannah's just coming over, I wonder, could you two just orientate us a bit? Where does what we've just seen fit into the opera?
So that is scene 2. There are 3 scenes. I'm shuffling along for you. So Hannah actually wrote this piece for a smaller stage, and we are adapting this piece to the main stage, and so we've had to be very creative about how we describe a prison cell that it isn't luxuriously big. So we're thinking more about the psychological space as opposed to the literal space. So what you've missed out on is scene 1, in which we established that Martin is a prisoner, a political prisoner, that he is on hunger strike, and that he is a poet that is in conflict. He's going, should I eat and therefore be given implements to write more poetry, or should I starve and make my impact that way, but will starvation lead to my death? So that the trays on the floor are symbolic for now of the food that he's been rejecting. And I think within the opera, maybe food comes in like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So the British are like giving him food and he's trying to resist it. This is his initial bed. And as he gets more and more, I guess, hungry and more distressed, the space morphs and stretches. So by the time we meet him in scene 2, he's now got 2 beds. And the space is double the size. So the yellow marks on the floor signify cages and walls that are removed as the opera goes along. So the space gets bigger and more trippy. And the letter that was initially a singular item becomes like 10,000 letters. And the idea is that a publisher called Lawrence and Wishart, they are going, right, you're making an impact. And he's going, should I?
That was the publisher who actually brought out his first collection, wasn't it? I think the year after the hunger strike, perhaps?
Yes.
In any case, they were a British socialist press, I think.
Exactly.
weren't they? Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay, fascinating. We're going to come back to that and how you've been thinking about this piece in just a minute. First, Hannah, why focus on the hunger strike? I mean, Martin Carter is such an interesting figure, such a kind of mixed career, clearly a man held in tensions between all sorts of competing desires, as many of us are. I mean, why focus on this particular moment in 1953?
I think it's probably the most heightened moment in that period, and certainly in his life. So it, lends itself well dramatically to the piece. But also, I suppose I found it really interesting considering whether, as an artist myself, how much can I make a change through my work? And that's certainly something that Martin is wrestling with and battling throughout the whole work. We read his poetry, today, and it can be difficult to remember that actually his poetry was incredibly political, and it was very much part of the fight for independence that he was working towards in Guyana. And to the point where it said that his wife smuggled out some of his poetry to read at political rallies. So it was a very tangible thing that he was doing, and I suppose that resonated for me because I hope and strive to say something significant through my work, and I suppose I related to that.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you already mentioned the struggle for independence, and Carter clearly was a really important figure in that in Guyana. I mean, Guyana has had such a long and complicated history of colonial oppression, essentially, occupied by the Dutch, occupied by the French, occupied by the British, then from 1814 until 1966. I mean, what's the legacy of colonialism been in Guyana today? You've already mentioned this is a personal issue for you.
Yeah, it's incredibly personal because my family is part of that history, and also ethnically, whilst my family primarily descend from the African slaves that were brought to Guyana. Also, my family is part of the Indian indentured servants that came once slavery ended, and so I feel as though my own identity is completely interwoven not only into Guyana but that colonial story, and also, I can't remember the rest of your question, but I had a really good point that I was going to say. But could you just?
Well, maybe you'd like to tell us more actually about where Martin Carter comes into that struggle for independence.
Yeah. So so something that's very living and breathing in his poetry is that is that web. And also, since independence in 1966, I think it's interesting looking at how Guyana and how Martin and his contemporaries wanted to rewrite the story of Guyana moving forward. So it's almost as though, it's putting a full stop in that moment in the past and the colonial past, and, and his stance and his work was very much anti-colonial, and so I find it really interesting looking to that moment of independence and reflecting on how Guyana has tried to rewrite its history going forward.
Yeah, thank you. Peter, you've got some big shoes to fill in this. How are you going about, how have you been preparing to be Martin Carter in this opera?
I think that the gift of Martin Carter is the poetry, and that's what has been the sort of starting point for exploring him as a person, as a mind, as an activist. And so the poetry is so multi-layered, and all the main themes of his work and his mission are there, and that's what's so great about the opera as well, because it's woven into the opera, and so a lot of the work has been stripping away the poetry to really understand these major themes, and also what is especially striking is this ancestral weight that Martin Carter feels he has behind him in terms of fighting for justice for his ancestors, his enslaved ancestors, and carrying on that mission as well. And so, yeah, it feels like a privilege to have all of these works and to be able to unravel them and really get underneath them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the poetry is actually a part of, some of his poems are part of this libretto, aren't they? They're part of the text.
Yeah.
What struck me, Ola, watching you rehearse with Peter just then, is how physical this is. You were saying it's so interesting to hear you talking about working with the main stage here, which is a huge space. You know, it's a really massive stage. And trying to presumably get a sense of claustrophobia, of the kind of being trapped on such a massive space. I mean, can you talk us through a bit more about how that's working?
It is incredibly physical, and Peter has risen to the challenge, especially scene one, he's like backflipping. So he's amazing, like he's really amazing. And I think we are really we spent last week really trying to clarify what was going on and all the different voices that were interacting with Martin. And that is knotty. It's really like, in the best sense. And so that's why the physicality is so knotty and frantic and, I guess, desperate. So that's why it's so physical. And I think to make it any stiller would be us diluting what exists. Because it's so...
It struck me listening as well to the score, listening to the way the lines are working, even Peter's voice just with the piano. I mean, you've already got that sense of different spaces, Hannah, I guess, from we've got the voice, the actor we can see on stage, but then there's also things going on off stage, and there's that sense of space beyond the cell itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is, you know, on the one hand, it's a musical technique because there's one person on stage, and you know, having to keep the dramatic interest up for an hour for an extended period, but also to reflect how interwoven you know, Carter's emotions were you know, in the period of being on the hunger strike, and you know, there were, you know, the rise and the fall of you know, thinking about whether it's the right thing, and you know, again, you know, how powerful is my poetry being, and that connecting to, you know, past history, and him talking to Kwamina, who, you know, is an infamous rebel slave, and you know, talking to his unborn daughter, and so, you know, just trying to find ways of you know, giving symbolism to that musically, and finding new ways to draw it into the action that was happening on stage. And so even though, you know, there are, you know, few people involved, so the ensemble is very small, and you know, all of that was quite considered because I wanted to bring a sense of fragility and intimacy to the work, to, you know, to also highlight his vulnerability as well. Is, you know, is trying to extend those threads beyond the fragility and the simplicity of what's happening, and trying to connect that to the much bigger picture that was happening.
What's great is that Hannah speaks on a global scale, so we're also thinking about what's happening in India and what's happening in Kenya whilst we're in the cell, which I think is really important to just tie up the whole picture of the empire.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say as one final question, and I realise we're pushed for time, we need to let you get back to rehearsal, but one final question, does this feel especially relevant today? I mean, the last 6 months we've seen a huge re-emergence of interest in the Black Lives Matter movement. We've had huge debate in public about racism in institutions, etc., etc. Does this feel, you know, like an opera for now?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, for me, this is part of you know, what I'm working on as an artist, and I suppose it feels nice that other people are joining in. So yeah, and also I try to make work that's relevant. For me personally, that's something that's important, and I want to reach as wide and as broad a group of people as possible through my work.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for talking to me. I need to let you get on. We have more to hear. It's time to see some more rehearsals. So over to you again, Ola. Thank you again.
Thank you. Do you want to grab your folder? Have you got
Yeah.
a poetry folder? Oh, where's my
Yeah.
What did you say? Oh yeah, you can space out more. You can sit up there if you want, Peter.
Okay.
You can be wherever you want. So, I don't think you have all of these poems, but you definitely have.
You should have everything from page 59 to page 105.
Oh wow, okay, good. I think we should read To a Dead Slave. It's very long, but it's good.
Okay.
I think it's useful. I'm going to read this to you. It says, oh, I have to wear glasses, I forgot. Can you read the opening? I get my glasses?
Yeah, sure. You mean the quotation?
Yeah.
Believing that things like verse, painting, or sculpture should need neither explanation nor directive, but should be both self-expressive and self-explanatory, I give here neither preface nor introduction. How well what follows can do without either of these is one measurement of its worth. So much, no more. And that's from Georgetown, 28th of May, 1951.
Great. Do you mind reading the first page of To a Dead Slave?
Sure. To a dead slave. To you, dead slave, from me, a living one.
Hence, we sing that, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I do not write these words thinking that you will read. I know your eyes are sightless in a grave. Your hands are still, your bones are lost away. I only want to heat these pages with my own heart's fire, to touch these hearts that live beside me here, to hasten birth, to drive the shadows back, to free the memories shackled in the mind, to raise a beacon in these smoky nights, to follow rivers from the shore and creek until this land is green and wide and free. I am eager, dead father, most eager, for all the boughs are laden down with hours whose minutes and whose moments filled with grief like sentinels are keeping us apart. In all these years, that bridge of human making, words and tales reach me, and I clench my teeth at night. At a window by the dusty streets of care, I sit impatient, counting days and months, but I have no more tears to weep, even those that should not fall from eyes.
Let's stop there for a second. So what I thought was really brilliant about this is there's a real sense of, well, we understand where our language comes from in the libretto. From here, it gives us more context. But also I was watching a documentary last night. It's on BBC iPlayer. Vicky told me about it. I should have told all of you.
Enslaved,
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yep.
Samuel L. Jackson. It's so good.
Yeah.
What's really, I'll send you the link if anyone hasn't seen it. What's really, it's very American.
Yeah.
In terms of the way that there is like a group of historians, Samuel L. Jackson, and a diving team that are like archaeologists, right? And a lot of them are black, and they really want to find the remains. I think they're looking in Cornwall at one point, are they?
Yeah.
Of, they find elephant tusks, like ivory, ivory, and they'd find the kind of currency that planters would have exchanged for slaves. But these people that the divers are going, I really expected when I dive down into this kind of dead old seabed to hear the slaves talk to me, to hear my ancestors. And that's really speaks to these poems.
Yep.
And him trying to touch the ground and kind of tune in to his ancestors. And the idea that when you expect to have a conversation, how disappointing it is when you don't receive anything back. Or in, I guess, Martin's case, how upsetting it is that he can't understand what they're saying, but they are talking to him.
Yep.
So there is a pull, but I don't know what you're saying. But within this, just the sense of the kind of kinship, like, I am a slave, living one, and you are a slave, a dead one. And that kind of bridge is still happening, which is sad.
Yep.
But also that I know your eyes are sightless in a grave, your hands are still, your bones are lost away. It's just so sad. But knowing that even though they are remains. They're still, it's very soulful still. So I just wanted to say that because of touching on
Yep.
that. I thought it was important to tie it up.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, I think almost all the poems we're about to read, there's a talk of fire, fire, fire.
Yeah.
Fire stick, heart's fire. So again, that's a really important image of like the need to, I know in a lot of, not a lot of religions, in Christianity especially, you speak about being hot or cold for God, and you can't be lukewarm. And there's something about that for Martin too politically, that he has to be on fire for his people.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, okay. Do you want to read the next page?
Sure. It's from those that are made.
Yes, please.
Those that are made in the heart's most tender vault have spilt from me, like groans mingled with words, like dreams which have no language of their own. Ah, land and country, not yet really mine. Ah, land and rivers, multitudinous. I never knew such rivers here were flowing. One time I stood, I gazed the Pomeroon, another time the Demerara course, and thrice on Essequibo did I float, whose forest walls are green like living things. How green those temples on those riverbanks. At evening flies the heron over all a prophecy that I would love to make to you, dead slave, from me a living one. Today is not like any other time. Beyond me come your children
Behind
pressing
me.
on. They need more slates to write their destinies, to draw the shoreline and the river bend, to copy names the Caribs give to us, like Wichabai and Mountain Kanaku. To learn that Ganges is an ancient word, and Kwamina a brave and rebel slave. I am humble, dead father, who's most humble with my brown and trembling hand. For when I think of children and these names, I understand how human is the world, how human is a rock with patterns carved, or a hut of trash, which was a sanctuary, or beating drum, or dance and marriage feast, or ship that moves between some different shores, or cargoes listed in a museum, which show what names the slaves inherited, or birth, or death, or woman really loved, wide earth and sun and things growing between. To you, dead slave, from me a living one.
I sometimes notice how the day begins, first slight and soft and barely in the east, then creeping, creeping like a child, like a little child, then like some wakened sleeper getting up, then brighter on the flowers and the leaves, until at last the land is full of dawn, until at last the land is full of day. Then men and women bend and lift their cares. Some draw their water at artisans' wells. Some tend new fires for the living day. Some lead the bullock to the iron plough. Some pelt ripe paddy seeds into the soil. Some feed their babies weeping as they do. Some see no sun. They and their shadows one. Some blindly stare upon their very hands, as one may stare upon a brother's grave, as one may stare into unlighted years, as one may stare and see a barren place. Yet I believe and think that all these hands which know the vein-filled womb, and all these wombs which know a waking life, are toiling to a better dawn, when those who see no beauty in the sun, no greenness in the fields of lovely rice, will give their voices echoes reaching far, till pause the birds that fly beneath the clouds, till will the birds astounded at the gaze of free land which a people call their own, a people whose great hands stretch everywhere from estuary to forest-hidden creeks. Thank you, TD.
The mighty book of flaming sprints who are always young. They grasp at life to live. They hold the brand of fire. They struggle on to find that which is free or slave. They crush what suffocates, they heal their bleeding wounds. They like the eagle's gaze, they choose their mountain peaks. They reason always how the slave should end a day, which rarely had a shaft of light. To you, dead slave, from me, a living one. I do not write these words thinking that you will read. I know your eyes are sightless in a grave. Your voice is done, your bones are lost away. I only want to kindle firelight, to be the keeper of the coming flame, to feed it with the power of itself until it warms me like a father's care, so that I live and call myself a man, one link in all of the 1,000 million links which makes this earth the human world it is, and seas and oceans with their currents go, by continents the very old, the new, the cradle which is Asia, old and great, America of Ince, Cherokee, now burdened with the black man's groaning heart. Yes, I have watched the sea, the Caribbean with a sunny tide, the Caribbean with an anxious tide, the Caribbean of the Coral, of Kitchen Midden at the very shore, the Caribbean cut by Europe's keels, which sailed the African, the Indian seas. And though my mind is brown as Mother Earth, yet move my tongue in English syllables beside a Hindu in her white ramal. That tongue I took, but as the falling rain.
Great, we'll stop there. We'll read the rest later. Let's jump to Like the Blood of Cormina. I hand that over to you, Izzy.
Can I have a page number?
68. So yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, Like the Blood of Cormina.
Yeah.
Across the night face of the river, whenever cane is ripe, there is deep red flame. Flame like a smouldering hill of fire across the dark face of the river. From the edge of this city, the hill of fire across the river is like sunset arrested on the edge of the world, like sunset of day without end, long day of grieving without end. O Jesus Christ, man, it is as if the soul of slavery, crouching like a tiger on the edge of the world, waits for the slave to leave his house. Across the dark face of the river, the hill of fire grows red like fresh blood, like the blood of Cormina, flowing through the green forest, the green, green forest.
So there's so many, in all of these poems, there are really clear themes about nature being green, there's blood and there's fire is throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you read Shines the Beauty of My Darling, 69? Okay. This is in our libretto.
If I wanted, I could make pictures of night, the map of stars above the mass of water underneath the stars, the beauty of my beloved like a flower bringing down the light into dark. Yes, if I wanted, I could close my eyes right now and bring these things like life into my brain.
Recognize that?
Yeah. But new are these times, and no matter where I turn, the fierce revolt goes with me, like a kiss. The revolt of Malaya and Vietnam, the revolt of India and Africa, like a guardian. Like guardian at my side is the fight for freedom. And like the whole world dancing for liberation from the slave maker, shines the beauty of my darling in her laughing eyes.
One more time. So now that we know, this is a love poem. So now when we're doing that in scene one,
yeah,
obviously we are trying to really mark that and make that something romantic. But it feels hard because we're talking about something so violent, a revolt. But it's an interesting, almost nice, subversion, right?
Nice to endow "Our day will come" with this last line: "Shines the beauty of my darling in her laughing eyes."
One more time from the top, please, Peter.
Okay. If I wanted, I could make pictures of night, the map of stars above the mass of water underneath the stars. The beauty of my beloved, like a flower bringing down the light into dark.
One more time, even more love.
If I wanted, I could make pictures of night, the map of stars above the mass of water underneath the stars. The beauty of my beloved, like a flower bringing down the light into dark. Yes, If I wanted, I could close my eyes right now and bring these things like life into my brain. But new are these times, and no matter where I turn, the fierce revolt goes with me, like a kiss. The revolt of Malaya and Vietnam, the revolt of India and Africa, like guardian. Like guardian at my side is the fight for freedom, and like the whole world dancing for liberation from the slave maker, shines the beauty of my darling in her laughing eyes.
Okay, I'm going to read on page 70, looking at your hand. Again, it's from the libretto.
Okay.
No, I will not steal my voice. I have too much to claim. If you see me looking at books, or coming to your house, or walking in the sun, know that I look for fire. I have learnt from books, dear friend, of men dreaming and living and hungering in a room without a light, who could not die since death was far too poor, who did not sleep to dream, but dreamed to change the world. And so if you see me looking at your hands, listening when you speak, marching in your ranks, you must know I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. That's what you say when you're here, right?
Yeah.
That's scene 2 to Janet, right? Okay, let's do one more. TD, can you read on page 72? Run shouting through the town. Actually, no. Listening to the land. That's really like, that's basically verbatim in the libretto. So let's try 73, A Banner for the Revolution is yours.
Okay. This is my hand for the revolution. That night there will be thousands of torches from the hospitals. The lame will come. The mad will be sane again for the revolution. Those who cannot read will learn to read for the revolution. Those who do not despair, those who despair not will be glad for the revolution. Those who are eager to be men will be glad for the revolution. I myself shall be so fiercely happy that I will make my shirt a banner for the revolution. A banner for the revolution.
Okay, one more. I'll give it to you, Peter. 75, Oh, Where to Hide. Izzy, you'll get the next one.
I don't mind.
These lumps of hardened air, invisible drums, are beating at my head.
Recognise that?
Yes. I hear drum, 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 loud drops of wax falling from time's black candle. Oh, drum, beat, terrifying night air. Oh, drum, beat, let me tear away. Oh, drum, beat, dark night, stamp foot, ah. Oh God, the face of earth is moving. Oh, where to hide? Oh, where to hide? Oh, where to hide?
So that happens in the opera, in scene 2, right?
Yeah, just now, invisible drums are beating at my head.
And so now we get a full sense of how terrifying that is, or how invasive that is.
Yeah.
Where to hide? There's nowhere to hide in your prison cell. Great. I think we should have a break. Thank you. Great work.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh,
Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for having us in your rehearsal space.
you're welcome.
It's been such a privilege to be here, and it was such beautiful, poignant poetry to hear, so thank you for sharing that with us. I hope many more people will end up wanting to go away and read the poetry of Martin Carter. It is not always an easy read, but it's extremely important. It's always to the point. It's always beautiful. Sadly, that is all we've got time for tonight. These good people need to get on with their rehearsal process. They're a week in, some weeks to go. I wish you all the very best for that period.
Thank
you. Thank you so much for watching this Insight tonight, supported by Rolex. And thank you to all of these people, to Hannah Kendall, of course, to Ola Ince, to Peter Brathwaite, to Jonathan Hayward, Genevieve Ellis, and everyone else on the production team. I wish you all the very best for the rest of the rehearsal period. And thank you for watching. Good night.